personal motto is that justice must be executed, knowing that these terrorists are generously used by our politicians who are out there doing whatever they want to do. They use youth as a matter of fact. They use youth and dispose them to terrorizing the nation, telling you that any youth who engages in terrorizing the nation can never be killed and should not be killed because they are used by this our political and whatever they call themselves. Are we there? Now I want to tell you again that terrorism retards international recognition. Abacha killed Saruwa and he was expelled from the European Unions. That is a way of, retarding Nigerian international recognition, making Nigeria drop back. And I want to tell you that in Ghana, one man from a groom said, I quote, anytime I am faced with a problem, I go for the causes, not the what? Consequences. I must say that death penalty is a what? A bid of facing the consequence and not the what? Causes. Now, regarding the causes of terrorism, you know that one of the causes of terrorism is what? Unemployment. Youth today, after schooling, after doing everything, after suffering the hands of our lecturers, just believe me that any youth who, after all these things, without employment, must know one thing to do. And doing that, they call it what? Terrorism. I want to tell you that it should anybody be questioned for terrorism. Government should first of all what? Question, because they are the masterminders of what? Terrorism. Also, poverty. Somebody said it causes economic background, downturn, referring to Aba and everything. Now, go to Aba, I want to tell you, there is no road, no light, no water. Tell me, how can you sleep? Tell us what I know what to do. I want to tell you that if you must go for the consequences or if you must want to, reduce terrorism, you must first of all know the causes of terrorism because fire is a threatening event, it is a bad, dangerous thing. But I want to tell you that you cannot stop fire by what? Fire. You only go and stop fire with what? Water or something cool. Telling you that terrorism can only be stopped with what? Dialogue. Now, consider Amnesty International. What happened in Niger Delta? Since after everything, fire and everything, it couldn't stop. But when Nigeria came with Amnesty, everything got subsided. Also, I want to tell you that terrorism breeds what? Terrorism. It encourages terrorism. When you kill a terrorist today, the tendency that 10 others must come is what? There. So to this end, therefore, my good audience, I want to rest my case by saying that terrorism is never, death punishment is never, can never, and will never be the end of terrorism. Thank you.
Encouraging. Well, we are still moving on. Coming to the apex of the debate. That is from the opposing side, business, administration and management.
And we'll have on the first speaker, Onwuka Ikenya. The moderator, panel of judges, the curator and keeper, my co-debaters. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Onwuka Ikenya, presenting the Department of Purchasing and Supply. I'm here to support the proposition that death penalty is the best punishment for terrorism. The Oxford Advanced Learners English Dictionary 6th edition defines death penalty as a legal punishment of killing someone who has committed a serious crime. Legal punishment, mark that word. What is something that is legal? Which means it is correct under the law. The law accepts it, that makes it legal. So for death penalty to be legal, it means that it's acceptable under the law. Now, death penalty is the best punishment for terrorism. Terrorism is the most heinous crime on the whole universe. I can't equate any crime with what terrorism does to us. Now, for the legal aspect of death penalty, I want us to understand that there is no fact that can dispute it that death penalty is the best punishment for terrorism, since it has been recognized as a legal punishment. Because when you talk about something being legal, there's nothing else that can dispute it. Now, death punishment has so many positive influences as regards the reduction of crime in our society. When you talk about in our prisons, if you say you won't kill a terrorist, you send him to jail. He will only go there to join so many other prisoners that were terrorists that have been there to mastermind or co-plot with even the people outside. So many other crimes that can be deterrent to the development of our economy, the society in general. So many of us here have been or have committed abortion, quote me right. So many of us have supported the commitment of abortion in one way or the other. Now, if we can support the killing of innocent citizens, though they are not yet born, why can't we say no to the killing of perpetrators of evil? So, for that fact, I want to let us know that it should be an easy thing for us to say that death penalty is best punishment for terrorism. If people equally, so many countries are agitating for the legalization of abortion, not to talk of the killing of citizens that which haunt the entire society in the whole world. Now, tell me, they are terrified, they are humiliated, they are put to sorrows and pain, and finally they are put to death. As a result of selfish interest of the perpetrators of this act, they are terrorists. They have no regard for human life. These terrorists, they don't understand the meaning of examination of conscience. One time or the other, you may reflect on your mind and want to make amends for the mistakes you've made. But these terrorists like this, they don't have any conscience at all. So they don't understand the meaning of life. They find it difficult to preserve life. The only thing on their mind is to terminate. So why should we think of leaving them alive? On our own part, if we support death penalty, I think it will go a long way in curtailing terrorism in both low and high places. So I would like us to know that terrorism, death warrants on even the victims of terrorist acts have been signed because they cannot withstand the pain they are going through because of acts of terrorism on their life. If death warrants can be signed for the victims, what about the committers of this crime? Thank you.
Well, that's the major speaker from the Department of Purchasing and Supply. The train is still moving as I've left the business school, moving down to the School of Engineering as we take on the opposite side, Civil Engineering, the major speaker, Anosike Godson. Please encourage him.
Good day, moderator, panel of judges, accurate timekeeper, my fellow speakers, and esteemed audience. I am here to stand against the motion which states that death penalty is the best punishment for terrorism with the following points of mind. 1. Lack of deterrence. It is believed that the essence of every punishment is the deterrence of the reputation of such crime. Is the deterrence of the reputation of such crime as a punishment for the deterrence of the reputation of such crime. But rather, it has been proven that death penalty has actually been an ineffective way of coping homicide rate and terrorism in our society. The fear of future execution does not actually deter this criminal from committing heinous crimes under the influence of alcohol, fear, drug, or maybe mental illness. These murderers are done in the heat of passion, when one is unable to think rationally. In 1994, when Sarawi was executed, it didn't really deter the people of Ogoni from the continuous terrorism of the Federation, but rather it jeopardized the little chances the federal government had on the continuous exploitation of oil from Ogoni Kingdom. Secondly, failure of rehabilitation. Putting someone on death row does not actually accomplish anything. Death penalty actually closes the doors for every criminal to acknowledge his mistakes. Every individual is entitled to a second chance in life. The victim of the convicted might actually want to see the murderer punished, but death penalty cannot and will never remove the pain caused by the execution of a loved one. Every individual is entitled to a second chance in life. Thereby, it is a more logical aptitude or a logical way of placing victims behind bars for their chances that he may come out to become a changed person. We all know that one of the most celebrated African heroes today, by name Nelson Mandela, was actually sentenced to prison for felony, but he came out 26 years later to become the first Prime Minister of South Africa. Thirdly, unfair judgment. Judgment, according to my own definition, is the killing of a human in retribution of crime committed, such as sarcastic killing, felony killing, or even aggravated killing. Now, we all know that the essence or the base of every judgment is equity. Now, tell me, where does equity stand? When you sentence Saddam Hussein to death sentence for mass murder with the use of nuclear weapon, and then somebody who went and destroyed the INEC office for just mere political gains, because according to section 1116B, Title 18 of the United States Code, which defines act of terrorism as the use of biological weapons, nuclear agents, firearms or explosives not for mere monetary gains, but in order to endanger directly or indirectly or another individual, or to cause substantial damage to government property. Now tell me, where does fairness stop? Because according to definitions, they are both terrorists. Fourthly, cost. Many of us here do not know that the cost of the execution of an individual is much more higher than detaining the person or sending the person to life imprisonment. It is more than 2.5% greater than that, and this is caused by the increment of prices which come up from the prior and during the trials of the convicted. It is thereby a more logical way to put the convicted behind bars, and thereby financing death punishment is tantamount to reducing the economic finances and time used in order to reduce economic finance and time used in order to reduce economic finances and time used in order to reduce terrorism. Fourthly, denial of fundamental human rights. The major fundamental human right is the life to live. If we kill somebody, we have denied the fundamental human rights. Thereby, it is never important for us to kill somebody, because about it is said that an eye for an eye and the whole world goes blind. Thereby, with this, I will say that death penalty is not the best punishment for terrorism. Thank you.
Is steaming towards the proposing department, and this time we are taking a trip to the Department of Accountancy. Please, ladies and gentlemen, join me as I welcome to the...
My name is Igwebe Blessing from Accountancy Department. Before I proceed, I would like to give the men of letters a magic step. Mr. Chairman, sir, the moderator, the partial panel of judges, accurate timekeeper, co-debaters, and my fellow students, good day to you all. I'm here this day to propose a motion which says that death penalty is the best punishment for terrorism. Based on the definition given by United Nations Secretary General report, that terrorism is any act intended to cause death or serious bodily harm to a civilian or non-combatant with the purpose of intimidating or compelling the government or an international organization to do or abstain from doing any act. Come to think of it, how can somebody intimidate government or compel government to do something contrary to the law? You all know that it's contrary. There is no how government can map out a huge sum of money in order to satisfy a selfish, desired human being. Let us look at it from this perspective. If a government should start attending to these terrorists one by one, believe me, these terrorists will end up emerging and rising to the peak. Because once a government produces one desire of a terrorist, they are also paving way for other terrorists to emerge, because terrorists will believe that that is the best way to get whatever they need from the government. Believe me, death penalty is the best punishment for terrorism, because in order to affirm the highest value of human life, we have to exact the highest punishment for taking human life. No one has not go fast one that states that are indefensive to power will be overtaken by power seekers. Any government that fails to exercise its maximum power in stopping terrorism, however, will end up being overtaken by terrorism. Because if a single terrorist can silence millions of lives to death at a glance, believe me, two good terrorists can overthrow a government. Furthermore, death penalty for terrorism stands for justice, and nothing could be further from justice. The reason for death penalty, however, is not to see how much pain could be unleashed on a terrorist, but to bring him to justice. Because some people feel that some sins are so heinous that executing the terrorists will bring satisfaction to their quest for justice. So believe me, death penalty is the best punishment for terrorism in order to hold perpetrators liable and accountable for their actions. Some people say that detaining the terrorists in a jail will, however, make them to change their mind. I tell you, it's lie. Terrorists don't have any other thing as their hobby. Their hobby is to shed innocent blood of Nigerian citizens. They don't change. Taking them to jail, however, boosts their mind that after staying in the jail for some years, when they are released, they come out as heroes. They like being imprisoned for heinous crimes, and they would like their names to be published in newspapers so that you know that they are terrorists. So tell me, someone that is good or someone that likes encouraging evil or that carries evil out as hobby, is he worthy to live? The answer is no. So in order to prevent these terrorists from killing more people, we have to silence them to death. And if we fail to do so, the generation to come, they are going to suffer it more, because this is just the peak of the terrorism activities. Finally, believe me, apart from the colossal law of life and limb, our economy has been exposed to massive damage. Terrorism has cost this nation their long-run wealth. It has destroyed the whole lot of this nation at a glance. Imagine a building of two-story building of American destroyed in a day, just in a second, by the act of these terrorists. Tell me, if we allow this terrorism to continue, very soon they will make this world unconducive for everybody to stay. Even you, my opposers, if I allow these terrorists to continue, very soon you will not even find your place anywhere in the society, because they will make sure that they end up the life of everybody. So tell me, a man who does not want another person to live, is he worthy to live? He's not worthy to live. In order to put him to an end, we have to put terrorism to death. So with this point of mind, be convinced that if we silence terrorism for life, the world will have peace. Thank you.
The tension is building. And this time, we're taking a trip to the opposing department. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to make a trip to the Department of Public Affairs. By the name, Ezulu Stanley Ekene.
The moderator, the panel of judges, the accurate timekeeper, my co-debaters, and my beautiful audience, ladies and gentlemen, good day to you all. I, Ezulu Stanley, from the Department of Public Administration, is standing on steel protocol to oppose the motion which says that death penalty is the best punishment for terrorism. Terrorism and death penalty are two conceptual issues that should be looked into critically before conclusion or grabbing conclusions to it. According to the definitions given by my co-debaters on terrorism and death punishment, we all will believe that some points that has been gleaned from that is that the aim or the major objective of this terrorism, or let's say the terrorism that's been sponsored by the state, is to undermine the psychosocial stability and the political governability of that particular state. The question we should be asking ourselves is, does death penalty deter? Yes, it is true that death penalty erases even the most or the worst perpetrators of terrorism from the society, thereby making the society a better place for us to live in. And it's also a thing of a fact that a dead terrorist cannot commit any further terror. But the question we should ask ourselves is, does death punishment deter? Does death penalty deter? Does it salvage the situation, or does it ravages it? It is a well-known fact that the perpetrators of this terrorism worldwide are seen as people that see it as a norm. They have been nurtured right from infancy to believe in the fact that extremism and terrorism are the best way to achieve their aims. They are even willing to die for their cause. I heard one of my co-debaters from the opposing side saying that the terrorists are not willing to die, that they believe that, or they wish to stay in the life imprisonment, and after a long time, and when they come out, they become heroes. And I want to say to the person that it is a grievous lie and a blatant lie. A terrorist would want to be killed. He would want to be executed. Some of them even commit suicide in the course of their terrorist act. They would want to be executed in order to be seen as martyrs and heroes. And this really creates an overwhelming inspiration in their youngsters in order to continue with the furtherance of their cause and becoming like their heroes. But let me tell you one thing. Terrorism cuts death. It cuts death, and they embrace it with so much enthusiasm. I want to bring out, or I want to suggest the better solution of approaches to the punishment of death penalty, which is life imprisonment, no parole, no release. If you're caught, or if you murder a citizen in the course of a terrorist act, you have been locked away, and the keys have been thrown away, and you're never going to see the daylight again. This is what the terrorists hate the most. This is what they never want to live to see. Because if the terrorist is being murdered or executed, they become martyrs. And let me tell you one thing. The reason why I still see life imprisonment without parole as the best option for punishment of the terrorism is for the fact that it paves way for extradition of the terrorists, in the sense that if a terrorist from another nation is being caught in a terrorist act in another nation, he can be extradited to his nation for conviction. And it also changes or rehabilitates their mindset while in prison. Because when a terrorist that is being nurtured to believe that terrorism and extremism are the best way to achieve their aim, when they are being brought out or brought together and made to understand by the high psychological means that terrorism and extremism are no way, it doesn't take anybody anywhere to the society, thereby making them give back to the society what they forcefully took from them. And conclusively, I do not believe that the people, or the majority of people that believes in death penalty do so for sadistic reasons, but for the feel of desperation that they and their families have felt from the rising tool or the rising terrorists in the society, which they perceive the government are doing too little to protect them from. Mr. Moderator, I want to say that a violent city depicts violent citizens, and I want to also say that death penalty is not the best way to achieve
Stop at the marketing department as we welcome the first speaker, Echebiri Chiaka Martins.
Speaker, panel of judges, my fellow speakers, listeners. My name is Echebiri Chiaka from Marketing Department. I'm here to propose the motion which says that death penalty is the best punishment for terrorism. Terrorism actually has been defined, according to the United Nations Security Council, as that which involves violence and threat